So what I'm going to have you do in a second is you're just going to read the story that's in front of you out loud to me. You'll see me kind of make some corrections or marks on my paper. Ignore it. Obviously, you don't have to worry. You're not being graded on anything. All right? So whenever you're ready.
Every day people use paper. We write on it and read from it. We use it in books, newspapers, magazines, and letters. It would seem that the uses for paper are nearly endless. Back in the 1950s, a young girl named Sadako Saska even used the paper as a means of hope and inspiration. Sadako was 2 when she was exposed to deadly radiation from the atomic bomb dropped in Hiroshima in World War II. At first, she seemed fine, but as the years passed, she became sick from the effect of the bomb. When she was in 6th grade, Sadako was diagnosed with leukemia. In the hope of helping in her recovery, to set about to make one of 1,000 paper cranes. Every day, she folded paper into tiny cranes, believing that they would somehow help her recover. Unfortunately, after fighting against the disease for 8 months, Sadako died on October 25th, 1955. This, however, was not to be the end of her hope, as children across Japan decided to continue making paper crayons as a call for peace in a time of trouble. In the end of the children's mission was turned into a special place in Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima, Japan. The Children's Peace Monument, also known as the Tower of Thousand Cranes, contained a large brass monument topped with a young girl with a golden paper crane in an outstretched hand. The monument is covered with bright colors that children from around the world still send thousands of paper cranes in the belief that someday they will live in a peace-filled world.
Okay, good. What's today's date? Okay. I can take that one from there. Okay, we're going to read another one. This one is called The Home of Kings and Queens. And then it's going to be the same thing, like I said.
For the past 1,000 years, Westminster Abbey, located in London, England, has been the home of the coronation of every king and queen of England. The first record coronation was held on Christmas Day in 1066, and the most recent on June 2nd, 1953. Kings as young as 9 years old and the queen too sick to walk have all been crowned in Westminster Abbey. The coronation ceremony was 5 parts. The introduction which included the entry, the oath, and the representation of the Bible, and the consecration, which is when the service begins, the giving of the royal robe, and insignian, ending with the crown, enthroning and homage, which included the new king sitting on the throne, and Holy Commune. All of these happen in the represent of key dignity from around the world. The coronation chair was originally created with the stone of score and sacred stone captured from Scotland, contained under the seat. As the gesture of goodwill, the stone was returned to Scotland in 1966 and is now on display in the Durig Castle. The most important item used in the coronation ceremony included the royal holy oil with the new sovereign is anointed, the royal throne, and of course the crown. Over the years, kings and queens have changed parts of the ceremony. In 1533, Queen Mary refused to be crowned, sitting on the coronation chair. Since she was a strict Catholic, and previous king who had sat on the throne was protested, King George V wanted to extravagant celebration, so he had a new crown made containing over 12,000 gems. However, or whatever the demand, Windmaster Abbey has met all and has stood the time and changes.
All right. I might have one more for you. I think this one is going to be the last one that we're going to do. We'll see. Take your time.
Homes come in many forms. In Chicago, brick bungalows stand in rows of city streets. New York has apartment buildings that kiss the sky. And Alaskan Inuits may live in igloos, whatever it is. There is no place like home. Cairo more to home than 7 million people. The capital of Egypt, and also known as the cradle of civilization, is the greatest metropolis in the Middle East. A severe housing shortage has caused millions of poor Egyptians to call the fifth massive cemetery ascent to Cairo home. Known as the City of the Dead, families have taken a living, working, nurturing their children, and creating complete communities among the tomb. The cemeteries of Cairo are dissimilar from American cemeteries. Traditional Egyptians bury their dead in a large room burial city where they would morrow for their loss for 40 days. Making these tombs like home has not been that difficult. Electricity is convoyed from a local outlawing masts by stringing wire from rooftops. Grave markers are converted to desks, and shelves and ropes is strung between gravestones from drying laundry. Problems come with other creatures, which the residents share living spaces: cockroaches, mosquitoes, flies, and other venom. There is also the issue of the stretch from garbage heaped up outside their doors. The main appreciation for the residents is that they are breaking the law so their future is ensured. They maintain, however, that until there is suffocation appropriately housing, they will stay right where they are. However difficult is it to many of the residents of the City of the Dead, they will not readily budge. An alternative, for many of them, many is living on the streets, and they would rather live among the dead, where at least they can have a home.
Okay. So, with this one that we just looked at, I'm going to ask you a couple questions based on the story, all right? So, I'm going to borrow this. I want to see what you can retain. If you have to look back at it, you can. All right? So, the first question is, what was the overall main idea of this passage?
Some people in Egypt don't have homes.
Okay. Okay. The second question is going to be, what was the name of the city or the capital that was in Egypt they talked about?
Cairo.
Good. Okay. So, what were some of the issues that they had within these homes?
They shared living spaces with insects.
Right? What kind do you remember? Any of the kinds?
Mosquitoes and other venomous things.
Okay. All right. And Do you remember at the very end it talked about would these people rather living these kind of situations like this housing area, or would they rather live on the street?
Live on the streets.
Yeah?
Because they felt closer to the dead.
Okay. Okay. That is gonna be that. Alright, so what I'm gonna have you do is I'm providing you with a couple highlighters and then there's a pen. And you're gonna look through this worksheet. So it's a reading about rats by Robert Sullivan. So you're gonna read the little short reading. And then once you finish the reading, there is a few multiple choice questions that you're gonna answer. What I want you to do is most of them say in paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, I want you to kind of like highlight where you found the answer for each of the questions in the reading when you go back in. All right, so you're gonna do that, and then you can wait on this one. Like, we'll reconvene and get together when you finished with the multiple choice questions. So don't move on to that when you're working just yet. All right, so I'll give you these. Read through it first. Kind of once you finish reading through it, then you'll go back in and you'll highlight where you find the answers to each of the questions. All right, so there's that. So let's see. You good? Let me just double check.
Did every single thing that inside of the part you guys me out to do.
Right. I was just making sure it was all highlighted good. All right, so now I'm gonna grab that last one. The last part is based on the excerpt, explain why brown rats have been able to thrive in urban areas. Support your answer with relevant and specific information from the excerpt. So make sure you do the bullets, right? You're gonna read the question carefully, which we did. And then you're gonna explain your answer, add supporting details, and then double check your work. So you can use the article. You highlighted a lot of the areas, so those might be important areas that you want to like re-look back in the text at the spots that you highlighted. And then you're gonna write like a little blurb. You don't have to write a full essay right now. If you wanted to even write it in kind of that essay format and write just a couple sentences for each paragraph that you would do to like make like a mock or like a plan of how you'd write your essay out. Just make sure that you fully answer all the questions. All right, so I'll give you this little prompt and you can even look back in the questions if you wanted. And then I'll give you a few minutes to work on that. Okay, so based on the excerpts, explain why brown rats have been able to thrive in urban areas, and then support your answer with relevant and specific information from the excerpt. So you said brown rats are thriving in urban areas. They can detect the most amounts of poison. They also have very strong feet, and it can run with squirrel-like ability. They're also excellent swimmers. All right, good. So if you were to look in this, where did you find most of those?
Down here.
Okay, good. So you use the text right here. And then if you were to actually write that, you'd cite that and put that in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing I'm going to have you add is add like a little intro and a little conclusion. Just like summarize it out. You can write like a sentence or two, right? So I just put a couple stars of where you can write those. And then I'll give you that back. Sorry. There you go. Okay. So you said brown rats thrive in urban areas because they have abilities to survive. Just add a period on there. Good. And then in your little conclusion, you put, this is why brown rats are thriving in urban areas. So if you were to really write this, something I'd recommend is kind of highlighting some of those things or like referencing them, summarizing your overall body and your details to your main idea, right? So I think that's good. You did a good job at highlighting and bringing into the discussion or summarizing, closing it out, discussing your main idea. I think, like I said, I would just maybe add in, if you were to actually write this, some of the things like the strong feet, squirrel-like ability, excellent swimmer, things like that. All right? Good job.